What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are continuing with our breakdown of trailers that were shown at D23, and we have the leaked trailer for the Thunderbolts, and I gotta say, it actually looks really good, and the premise of the movie, the plot of the movie, and the overall feel of the trailer feels pretty good as well. We have a lot of characters that are back, and now they are forming a team together after trying to kill each other. And we have characters back like Ghost and Taskmaster, and they have brand new looks. So does Yelena Belova. She actually really looks like Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff. When Scarlett Johansson had the short blonde hair, that is kind of what Yelena looks like now. And I think, and of course we'll get into this even further as we break down the scenes, I think she is intentionally looking like Natasha to honor her old sister. And they've already confirmed, they confirmed at San Diego Comic-Con actually, that Yelena really is kind of in the center of all of this. It's going to focus on a lot of people, but Yelena is probably going to get the most spotlight. And speaking of, let's just dive into the leaked trailer. It starts off with Yelena going to visit Red Guardian. She knocks on his door and he says, "Just leave it on the porch." She doesn't say anything, but she knocks again. And then he says, "Your subordinates will be reported to DoorDash HQ." So that's meant to be funny, and as somebody who DoorDashes, I do find it funny. But a reminder that this movie is going to be funny, but it is also still going to be very dark. So Yelena eventually says, "Alexei, it's me, open up." It then shows Alexei sitting on the couch in his underwear. His whole apartment is a complete mess, so he starts to try and clean it up real quick. He even goes to the sink, puts some soap on his finger, rubs it in his mouth like he's brushing his teeth, and then spits it out. So it just kind of shows you how he is living right now. He's kind of a mess. He kind of just sits around all day, and that's important for what's about to come. So he finally opens the door and he's very happy to see her, and he says, "Yelena," and she looks at him and she goes, "Hi, Dad." And she looks kind of sad herself. As she comes in, she takes a look at how messy the place is, and Alexei tries to lie and say, "Sorry about the wait. I was on a very important call, highly classified, lots of work, lots of hires, lots of fires." It does seem like he is doing something else now outside of what he used to do. And we haven't really seen him since Black Widow, but we can basically just kind of say contract work, because that is something that they actually get into a little bit later on in the trailer. But it seems like maybe he actually got a normal job at some point in time since we last saw him, because Yelena asks him, "Do you feel fulfilled?" And he puts a big smile on his face and he says, "Yeah, so full, so filled." And you can just see kind of the defeated look on Yelena's face. You can see that she's under a lot of stress and is thinking about something. So Alexei says, "But why do you ask me this? What brings you here?" It then cuts to the Marvel Studios logo, and the logo starts to ascend and go up like an elevator does. It goes up with the door of an elevator, and we see Yelena Belova go into a hallway. And we hear her say, "There's something wrong with me, an emptiness. I'm just drifting and I don't have purpose." And when she says this, it shows Bucky. He's in a suit and tie. He seems to be in some type of official government building, and we do know from San Diego Comic-Con, because Sebastian Stan revealed this himself, Bucky is now a congressman. And they show Bucky and we see him walking in this building, and he doesn't look like he is that fulfilled either. It then shows us John Walker, U.S. agent, played by Wyatt Russell. He was from The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. He was supposed to be the next Captain America after Steve Rogers, but he basically ends up being kind of a disgrace. He gets stripped of the Captain America title, and we see him in his home in a chair in a baby's room. It's clearly his child here, and he's looking at his phone, and we can see what he's reading. It's an article that's titled "Fall of a Hero, the John Walker Story," and it shows a picture of him in the Captain America uniform. So we can see that he's not happy either. So as Yelena starts to talk about how there's something wrong with her, there's an emptiness with her, we see these other people, and it's basically revealed that they all feel the same. Bucky feels the same, John Walker feels the same, and Yelena says, "I'm just drifting and I don't have a purpose." We can tell everybody feels the same. And then she says, "I thought throwing myself into my work was the answer." And then we see her take out a lot of different guards in true Black Widow style. She makes sure to finish them with gunshots to their bodies. Again, true Black Widow style, but then she comes into a giant room. She's clearly on a mission, and she goes into this giant room and is very confused. It's a huge room, and we believe this to be what is known as the vault, where they are keeping Sentry. And he shows up in just a bit. But Yelena notices that there's a lot of stuff in there, including what seems to be some paperwork that might be really important urgent and confidential, and I think she quickly realizes that she might be getting set up because quickly she turns the corner and John Walker is there, US agent, and he starts shooting at her. She picks up a metal briefcase and blocks all of the shots. The two of them then begin to start fighting. She tries to knife him, but he blocks it. It looks like she is struggling a little bit, but then Taskmaster shows up and she hits US agent to the side and she sends him flying. Now, this is not the same Taskmaster mask that we are used to. There is a new look here, but we believe it's the same person, Dreykov's daughter, and this would make sense because if you notice, she is actually helping Yelena. She kicked US agent for him, and we can see Yelena in the background here as Taskmaster goes to shoot a bow at Ghost. Ghost has a new costume as well, and her powers are on full display as she phases in and out, going around people, and basically all of them start to fight each other. Except, as I mentioned, Yelena and Taskmaster, because at the end of Black Widow, it seemed like Yelena and Taskmaster are good. So she knows who Yelena is, and she was probably there protecting her. But as we find out, it looks like all of them were sent there. However, everything sort of goes on pause for a bit when another character pops out. He's dressed almost in PJs or clothes that you would get from a hospital, and everybody stops fighting, turns to him, points their guns at him. He puts his hands up, and then Ghost says, "Who are you?" And he frantically puts his hands up in the air and says, No, I'm Bob. Yelena then asks him, "Who sent you?" And he says, "Nobody." And questioning them, he says, "You were all sent?" And right as he says that, all of the doors around them start to close. As they're locked in, they begin to talk to each other, and we see what seems to be kind of a special forces SWAT team kind of run through the hallways, and Yelena says, "Everyone here has done bad things. Shadow ops, robbing government labs, contract kills." And as she says this, it shows her, US agent John Walker, Ghost. It shows them all doing these things. And then US agent says, "Yeah, so?" Then Yelena says, "So, someone wants us gone." Then all of the lights in the building that they're in, which we'll call the vault, turn off. Then a timer from 1 minute starts to count down. And Yelena says, "What the hell?" And from there, they show a montage of a bunch of different clips of a bunch of the different Thunderbolts characters doing different things. However, they first show Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, who we have seen many times now in the MCU, including at the end of Black Widow, in Black Panther Wakanda Forever, in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier recruiting US agent. We see Bucky looking at her at some event, and we hear her voice say, "We're brought up with this belief that there are good guys and there are bad guys." And we'll get back to what she finishes saying in just a bit, but some of the things that they show during this are, one, Sentry, Bob, who would be Bob Reynolds, which is the actual name of Sentry, Robert Reynolds. So they're trying to play it off like, oh, this isn't Sentry, this is just some guy named Bob, but Bob is his literal nickname in the comics, Robert Bob Reynolds, aka Sentry. So it looks like he gets out, and when he gets out, there are just a ton of people waiting for him, all with their guns pointed right at him. There are vehicles as well, there are floodlights in the air. You can tell that he was kept in a very secure and contained facility, but perhaps the Thunderbolts being there helped get him out, and I think that they were probably all sent there to possibly die. Maybe Valentina Allegra de Fontaine wanted to get rid of Sentry and get rid of all of these other people at the same time to cover herself. But what's interesting is that Sentry is wearing a shirt that seemingly has a lot of bullet holes in it, and right after we see him in this shirt, we see a bunch of shots being fired at him. They're literally showing the bullets on the ground. I actually think him with the shirt on, when they show it, happens after everybody shoots at him, and this goes to show that he's completely fine. Everybody just shot a ton of bullets at him, but he's fine. And that is because Sentry is basically the Superman of Marvel. He's the man with the power of 1 million exploding suns. He got these powers from a serum that was derived from the Super Soldier Serum, which was supposed to be 100,000 times stronger than the original Super Serum used for Captain America. So you can just imagine how strong and resilient his physical body is. So all of these bullets basically do nothing. So I think Bucky ultimately realizes that Valentina is evil because we see him looking at her. We then have a scene where Bucky takes his vibranium arm out of a dishwasher, and in an interview recently, he joked about it and basically said, hey, it's a quick way to wash it. We then see him with the Thunderbolts, and he says, what's the plan? So he joins the Thunderbolts, obviously, at some point in time. And going back to what Valentina originally was saying, she was saying you're brought up with the belief to believe that there are good guys and bad guys. And she says, but eventually you come to realize that there are bad guys. And when she says this, it shows a lot of footage of all of the Thunderbolts members essentially beating the crap out of people and doing bad things, like Yelena setting a bomb off in a building. So they show that while she says there are bad guys, but then she says, and there are worse guys. And as she says that, an elevator opens and we see the Thunderbolts team. So we're led to believe that these guys are the worst of the worst. And then they get to Valentina and it's all of them. We have Yelena Belova, Red Guardian, Bucky, US Agent John Walker, Ghost, and Taskmaster. That is the entire team. And Valentina comes out and says, look at you, so adorable. And one thing to put out is that people who saw this trailer live said that it kind of looked like Valentina was in the old Avengers Tower. So it may be that she is the one who actually bought the Avengers Tower from Tony Stark. We'll have to wait and see on that though. But Yelena just kind of smiles at Valentina and then they play the title card, the Thunderbolts with the asterisk on it. But then after the title card, they do play one more scene. It's all of them driving together in the desert. Alexei is driving and he says, I believe in this team. This has the makings of a team that can rise to glory, that can be the heroes on the Wheaties box. And then Yelena kind of interrupts him and says, I find it best just to ignore him sometimes. And throughout the entire trailer, they do display some words randomly that say, be careful who you assemble. So they do really make it seem like there's a new, I'll do quotes here, hero team being assembled. And perhaps they could become the Dark Avengers. I know it's not comic accurate, but perhaps they could become the Dark Avengers, and that's what that asterisk is for. Perhaps it's not the Thunderbolts, perhaps it actually is the Dark Avengers. But again, this was just a teaser trailer shown. It's hard to get all of the context from this, but it clearly looks like Valentina tries to basically set them all up with suicide missions possibly, and then they track her down, and then she probably gives them an assignment to be able to get out of everything. We'll have to wait and see, but in the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Are you excited for this or are you not? Let us know. Please don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest videos. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.